What's going on there, guys? What's happening? Drone worship in your face. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I invited a special guest. Well, actually, he popped in on a stream a week ago, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, close to 2 weeks ago, somewhere around there. I've been watching Jose Rodriguez for a long time, and he does printers and tech stuff, and he's really smart. He basically can show you how to take drone footage or pictures and completely set them up for the highest possibility resolution you can print with. For those of you guys who do a lot of real estate stuff, or I mean, just mess around as a hobbyist, commercial work, whatever. So we got to talking, and I thought it would be fun to set up a stream with Jose to talk about how you can properly color grade and stuff with drone footage, so that you guys can get the best quality out of the footage that you guys are taking. So I'm going to bring in Jose right now. I'm also going to share his link with you guys. So I'm going to paste that right here. So if you guys have not, oops, let's see, that is not quite the link that would have invited you in here. Give me 1 sec, Jose. I see you're ready for me. Let me share your link so these guys can subscribe to your channel. Okay, so we're going to put that in there. There is Jose's link if you guys wanted to check that out and subscribe. And everybody say hello to Mr. Jose Rodriguez, a good friend of mine.
Hello, everybody. If you notice on my link, it says Cheo, and that is the Puerto Rican's nickname for Jose.
Gotcha.
That's what I've been called since I was a baby. Anyway, so a little bit about myself. I started with photography back when I was like 8 years old. There was a gentleman down the street that actually photographed my cousin's wedding. They all took a ship to Spain to get her married, and he followed her along. And when he came back, here I was, maybe 8 and a half, and I'm interested in the photos. And he shows me this amazing photography that he performed over there for my cousin. And that's it. It just hit me. And from that point on, I didn't do anything else but photography. Sure, I got in a lot of trouble with my mother, getting into places I shouldn't be getting into. But all I was doing was photographing. And with what? Well, one of those little roll type cameras. And so later on, I got my dad to, after begging him to death on it, to buy me an enlarger. We set up a dark room in my little closet, and that's it. To give you an idea how much of a nerd I became, my wife was my first date. Okay. And I was 23 years old. I did not, I had interests, but my photography came first, and also music. I was actually a music major before I became a photographer officially. So I went into the Army in 1968 during the Vietnam era, and originally I was a field medic, a combat medic, and my head nurse realized, geez, Private Jose Rodriguez is always bringing in his photography. Maybe he's more interested in that than even, than being an occupational therapy technician, which is what I was doing. I was working with amputees. And so what happened was that she contacted my company commander, and with a stroke of the pen, back in those days, they had that much power. He basically changed my specialty to still photography, and that's what started it all. I did it for 22 years, and then I retired after that, went to work as a private contractor for the government in medical photography, and I then finally retired in 2012 when they closed Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And at that point, I thought, I'm retired. I'm only 62, and I'm going to retire early. And then my daughter calls and says, hey, Dad, I'm pregnant. I said, oh, crap. Now I'm going to be a grandpa. Forget my retirement. It's going to take all my time and effort. So anyway, I decided to create a channel just to help people out and kind of share the knowledge that I have picked up all throughout those years. And here we are now. It started extremely slow. I mean, nothing happened for at least 4 years. So for those of you who are contemplating creating a YouTube channel, do it for the fun of it. Don't do it because you think you're going to make money. That'll come later. And it took me from 2009 until 2017 to be able to get monetized that long. And now we're doing really well, as Daniel very well knows.
Oh, yes.
So what we're going to talk about is often, to me, and when I discuss all of it, it's a daily thing with people. After 37,000 almost subscribers, at least I think it's beyond that now. Every day I get questions that people are not getting neutral results in their photography, whether it's making a print like this. This is done with an Anafi drone.
Beautiful.
This is my grandson's house. Okay, so obviously he's not lacking. He's living quite well. So in order to first arrive at a neutral result, you need to basically create your white point when you are shooting. You need to actually have a reference. And for drones, I found this little goodie right here because we want our video or whatever you are doing, whatever you're producing. And to me, yeah, drones are fun to fly, but I am more interested in the photography side of droning. So I need a tool to help me. And this is one of those tools. This is your basic, your white, and then behind is what is referred to in the olden days of still photography as an 18% gray card. And what that gives you, if you were to take a meter reading of this, it would give you an f-stop and shutter speed setting smack in the middle of the exposure range. So if you have your maximum bright highlight about to fall off that cliff and the most minimum black about to fall off that cliff, it puts you smack in the middle. Now, the catch is that even if you get that perfect exposure, you might be blocking your highlights because often the sensors in these digital cameras and also the drones cannot handle the dynamic range that may exist in a particular scene. Now, I am going to demonstrate some cloudy day video and then some bright sunny day midday video, and you're going to see the difference in dynamic range. You're going to lose something. You're not going to be able to fully capture the shadows, but I got some tricks that I can show you to be able to achieve that. So this will get you neutral to begin with. And so once you arrive to that point, then you can go ahead and play with color grading like Hollywood, uses on their videos. And
let me ask you a question. Yeah. Where can they purchase that at if they wanted to get one?
I found this on eBay. It's been such a long time. I can't even tell you where the hell I found this.
Okay.
But right. Basically, just look for 18% gray card.
Gray card. All right, 18% gray card.
This is one of those foldable ones that, like an old-fashioned old ladies, what the ladies used to wear, those hoops. That's how you had to fold them.
I just want to stop real quick and say thank you, Michael. You didn't have to do that, bud. That's very awesome of you. Thank you very much, Michael.
So, without further ado, as they say,
are you ready for me to share the screen?
Go ahead and share the screen and minimize this.
Guys, we're getting ready to show you how to color grade properly. He's going to set you up with everything you need to know for the basics. So here we go.
I think in the next couple of weeks, depending on Daniel's schedule, we can do an actual editing demonstration where I will try to explain how I go about editing my video, and it is not all perfect. It has got a lot of flubs, a lot of aerial adjustments of my drone while I decide which direction to go and so on. I'm going to show you how to do the most, effective cinematic cuts so that you don't have any kind of abruptness or any kind of a weird, I go to the right. Oh, I meant to go to the left. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go straight. Well, that should be cut off. So we're going to go ahead and start with the cloudy video. And I'm just going to pick just a bit of it right here. Let's see. Right here, we got a nice little aerial shot.
Jose, I'm actually going to blow this up full screen and cut us completely out of the picture so they can see what's really going on here. Yeah, so let's do a full screen layout. There's full screen. That should help a little bit. Go for it, man.
So as you may be able to see, it's not, it doesn't look as warm as it should be. Now I'm going to show you a special tool that's included in Premiere. Now, Adobe Premiere, I know that a lot of you probably do not use Adobe Premiere, but that is the industry standard, and I kind of, I tend to use it for all of my work. Now, I'm a firm believer on never affecting your original file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an adjustment layer on top of this, and I'm going to apply all my edits to that layer. That way the video itself is not affected. I'm going to go ahead and click here. Again, you don't have to, remember any of this stuff, just the basics. So we're going to go to, let's see, let me enlarge this a bit. And no, I got to make it bigger. When you make, I want to show you most of the this area here, so I have to readjust this margin here. Let me get that adjustment layer. Where the heck is it at? Oh, I know. Ah, see that? The expert, right? Yeah. Shoot, right here. There we go. Adjustment layer, and we're going to add it on top. So we're going to add it on top. I'm going to expand it just for the duration of that clip. All right. So I think we got it finally. Working under pressure. That's what happens. All right. So, why not just start by clicking on auto and just see what happens? So we're going to click on auto, and yeah, it brightened everything and increase the contrast. But see here, if anything is touching that upper edge, it's blown out. Okay, so that's not good. We can go back to reset, and actually you can see this area right here. This represents literally this roof right here, the part of the roof. I mean, literally represents this area here, represents this. The red line, that is your cutoff point. Okay, beyond that, there's no detail at all. So what you need to do, yeah, you can use that that auto setting, but then you would have to go back and adjust that exposure. You want to do that so that the highest point, that area there, does not exceed or go beyond that. So right about that point right here. Again, everything is super subtle. You really don't see, it's not like, oh my God, that's amazing. No, it's just very subtle things that you do. So now we want to do a white point neutralization, if you will. So we're going to take this. And again, if I had been able to fly like a bird and hold that little circular white, in front of my lens, yeah, that would be the ideal thing to do, of course. But the only other choice we have is this white right here. Okay. So we're going to take a reading from that, but we're going to do that on the actual adjustment layer. So I am not actually changing or affecting the video file at all. So you see that? Let me do that again. Reset it. It was a little bit warm. And now see the difference?
Yeah.
Again, remember, these changes are extremely
minute,
delicate. Yeah.
All right.
So forget about auto. We're just going to go ahead and manually do what we think is best. So white points and black points. So white point, black point, when you use the word point, that means that you literally are nailing down that black point. And then you can adjust the midtones either brighter or darker without affecting the position of that nail that you set up as your black point. So let's just go ahead and set up our black point. Watch what's happening here. So we started here. We started right at that point. We're going to bring down. You see how it's beginning to light up right here?
Right.
You want to. You don't want to go beyond that. Right there. That's it. That's your black. So now everything in the shadow region of your histogram, that's the word I was trying to come up with, will actually be just slightly above pure black.
Right.
In printing, we say that pure black would be if I got a bottle of black ink and I poured it on the paper. That's, no detail whatsoever. Now we'll do the same thing with the white point. We'll increase it right about there, or maybe not increase it. You see what happens here? My black point stays the same.
Right.
I can sure compress that white down. And you want to just compress it down to, the point where you get, if there was any texture here, unfortunately there isn't any, you will be able to start, to see it. This is basically my grandson's great grandma's house. Now the big house is on the other side of this 13-acre piece of land. Yeah. So now that we have set the white point and the black point, now we can play around with everything that fits in the middle. All of this tonality right here.
Sure.
So what do we want to adjust? Well,
so essentially, you fixed the blowout is what's happened. You fixed that
exactly.
blowout, and now you can go into the color.
Yeah, some cameras on some drones will give you like a zebra stripe warning.
Right.
You have gone over it. Yeah, you should bring down that exposure, especially if you're able to use completely manual exposure. So you want to kind of set that in your most evenly lit area of the scenery you're going to be shooting, and then set it there. So then if it goes into a more darker area, it's not going to change the exposure on you.
Sure.
On this video that I have here is also auto exposure. So it will change us, and also auto color balance. So it will change it. So you want to basically set those 2 points. And then after that, you can play with the shadows. Now the shadows are going to basically cover this region right here. Black is already set. Remember, black is nailed down. It's not going to move. So shadows. So we can play with shadows like that. The black is the same. If you look at this area here, at the last little bit of detail, it's not changing. What I'm doing is I'm compressing this region here from about 77 down to 0. I'm compressing it down, but I am not making the black point even blacker. In other words, that's
right.
what I'm trying to say. So if this is what you're looking for, then fine. And then you're going to do the same thing with the highlights. Wait, that's way too bright, right?
Whoa.
But I am not going over that white cliff. I'm just compressing this region here up. So maybe you want to bring it down. Sometimes it's necessary to bring the highlights down a little bit. Notice what's happening right here. See, this is my cutoff point right here. This is that part of the road right there. It's represented as a green stripe. So this is kind of a visual. You notice it kind of looks like a building.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Yeah. So right about that point, and then once you got that down, so now we have our exposure down. I'm not over the white cliff. I'm not, falling off the black cliff either. I'm going to adjust the contrast to whatever I think looks great. Okay, right about there. And the way I'm looking at the siding here, detail of the siding on the house. And if this was a still photograph, I would be very careful to make sure if I'm going to do this as a real estate photograph, I want to make sure that I capture every bit of detail of that house.
Right.
Let's see. So that's about it for this. Now, you have saturation. So, of course, you can increase saturation or decrease saturation. Make it black and white.
This is where I always go wrong. I always get artifacted because I mess with the saturation.
Your 100 point is, your starting point. You can then below or increase. I always tend to leave that alone, and I use this setting right here. It's called Vibrance, and Vibrance will affect only certain colors that your psyche wants to see brighter. Reds, oranges, green.
Oh yeah. And
it will not affect your dull, maybe monochrome type colors like grays. This area here on the shingles, why do I want to make that more saturated? So Vibrance comes into play. If you notice, I am increasing the vibrancy of the fall colors.
Yes.
A lot more than I am increasing the saturation or vibrancy of the house's colors.
Right.
So I always add a little vibrance, and this is, again, this may exist in other applications, but it's basically endemic to Premiere. And so now we can add sharpening. That's it. And that is basically it. Now let's color grade this puppy. We have this thing now is looking neutral. Okay. So what Hollywood does is they love to add a mood to your movie that you're watching, depending on what they are trying to, depict.
Right.
So you can do that in curves, or you can do that. There's another tool here. And again, I never color grade. I always go for a neutral look.
Right.
I'm not making a movie here. So you can grab this as well. And in photography, you can use this linear curve. You click, click, click on the highlight side and on the shadow side. And you want to leave this middle section straight. So you can bring this down. it's only going to affect this region. This is black, this is white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the same thing here. So what this is doing is actually increasing contrast, because what happens is in this region down here,
Mm-hmm.
things tend to block up. So instead of having even steps of density, they get just compressed into, instead of having 10 different shades, maybe 3. So what this does is going to open that up. So once you're done with that, let me go ahead and close this down because there are more. Let me see, where the heck am I at? My sight is really going bad. Let me take my glasses off here. All right. Oh, I'm on the mullet. Okay, let me go back to color.
We'll all be there someday, Jose.
Yeah, I know. It's really bad. I got an appointment to get my glasses replaced. All right, so that is about it. We're going to go to color wheels. And this is where you can adjust. You can do the Hollywood thing. So what they do is they trick you into accepting the fact that shadows are always cold and highlights are always warm.
Right.
Middle tones are always neutral. So what we'll do, we're going to move this down to the cold side. Okay, so we just affected the shadows. And I probably did it way too much. And then we're going to do the highlights and we're going to warm those babies up. And really, that is all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the change that took place. See how this became warmer?
Right.
But the shadows are just cooler than they probably would be normally. Again, I can increase it even more, or I can just do this and make it really. Notice right here, it's beginning to get very, very cold looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, more bluish, in other words. If I go
see that
in this direction, notice a change is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can play around with this. And again, there are no rules to this. That's the misinformation out there from a lot of people that do editing videos. There are no rules. It's what looks good to you, the viewer, or you, the editor. Really, this is your creation, so you're gonna give it the look that you want. So if this was maybe later on in the fall when the trees are almost gone, I would probably not try to make this as warm and reddish, maybe a little bit cooler.
Sure.
So that's about it for this.
Yeah, you really don't want to make it warmer because then it'll come off as cartoony almost.
Let's see what this looks like. So I was saying I'm flying around here and I'm trying to.
Whoa.
Okay, we're lagging here. I'm looking for adjust the camera position, so all of this gets cut off.
Right.
All of this crap is going to get cut off. So that's what I'm saying. You get maybe 30 minutes of footage, and you're going to end up with 5.
Look at what happens when that light sensor takes in all that light.
You're going to end up with 5 minutes. And again, remember that the ultimate portion of where I was flying literally over the house,
mm-hmm.
That's the important. This is just leading to it. So
right.
I wouldn't worry too much about this. I want to actually adjust for that reveal as I rotate to the right, and fly over the house.
No, I just want everyone here to realize this is a 6-year-old Bebop 2 drone.
Exactly.
1080 at 30 frames per second best.
Yeah. I think, and don't well, right now it's at quarter resolution because I need to do that in order to make it play correctly over the live stream. But here we are. Now it's at full resolution right now. And again, when I then render this out, I will use certain settings because you know very well, Daniel, when you are, or Dan, sorry, don't want to get too formal here. When you are flying low,
mm-hmm.
and you got that foreground is moving
faster
than the background, you get that compression artifact.
Yep, artifacting.
So that means that you are not rendering at a sufficiently high bit rate.
Right.
Because YouTube is going to massacre that video for you.
Oh yeah, slaughter it.
So what you want to give him is, I maybe this clip may be half a gig, okay, already, maybe a quarter of a gig. When I render it out, it's going to be even larger. And what I try to do, and this is a trick that I've been screwing around with this for quite a while, and come to realize that if I upload and immediately publish, YouTube still has not rendered that video. It takes them like a day.
Yep.
It takes them like a day to be able to come up with the 1080p, for instance, version of it.
Right.
So I will just schedule it for like 2 days later.
Sure.
So if I do one tonight and put it up, it'll be scheduled for Monday sometime. And that way, when I preview it on my TV upstairs, it's going to look correct. And it's still not perfect. I can copy the rendered file onto a hard drive that I have connected to my TV, and that is just, I mean, perfect. You know, not a bit of compression, artifacting, or anything. And that usually happens on fast-moving objects. I see that all the time. I don't care what the drone is. So that's the secret. Render at a sufficient high bit rate. And I just max it out. I don't care. And, I'm not worried about the size of the file. YouTube can handle it.
Let's see. We get it more often, Jose, when FPV, when you're screaming across the ground.
You know what I'm talking about. You get blocky,
blocky, checkered,
In still photography, they call it JPEGing, which means that it's looking for similar pixels, color-wise and hue, and it just say, oh, these are similar enough. I'm going to compress the hell out of them, and we're just going to take those 50 pixels and turn it into just one big one, one big block. And it's doing that every single frame, and you get that blocky appearance. So,
Jose, Cracker has a question for you.
Yeah.
What's the best bit rate to render at 1080?
Let me tell you, I have some settings, and I'll have to let me go like I'm going to render this out. So I'm going to Control M this, and we'll come up with this is another application. It's part of the Adobe photography package.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have here is I have done some presets, and notice all my presets here. So I got my 1080p full HD, and let me scroll down. I am at 62.5. And then I also use maximum render quality. And let's see up here, there's another little tick box. Render at maximum depth. Boom. So again, that's specific to Premiere. So at this setting, I will get a relatively large file. It's going to be larger file size than the original clip. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be pristine. It's going to be pristine. Any degradation that occurs is going to be YouTube. It's just YouTube.
Cute.
Yeah. So, there's nothing much you can do. But, if you feed them the best, highest quality file that you can possibly, create, you just put up with whatever slight degradation takes place. But if you give them a mediocre file that already has compression artifacts, it's just going to be unbearable.
Yeah.
When you see it, I quite often I've had to delete videos and come back and re-render them. And of course, the Bebop 2, what does it render at? 50, something like that. Maximum 45.
I honestly couldn't even tell you. I never looked into it, I guess.
The Anafi is about maximum 100 on 4K, and I've been shooting at 2.7K lately because really there's no need. There really isn't any need to shoot. I mean, I don't see the difference on my 4K TV between the two formats. So I just shoot at what's easier to edit. And I don't have to reconvert that. Like I was telling you about the problem with Bebop 2 and Adobe editors. Anyway, so let me jump over to something sunny. So here we are now. This was, I think, earlier last week, and this is this week. So I think it was like Tuesday. So we'll just let me just grab a little clip. I kind of pre-cut all of these here because I wanted to share with you guys next time how I do my editing cuts, especially transitions. Transitions, oh boy, I see so many problems with transitions. People will basically forget that the transition will extend to the file on the right and also the file on the left. And so if you have your cut right where you want it to be, but you were rotating, beginning to rotate just 10 frames after that, it's going to include that. And it's going to look awkward as hell. So let's go ahead and put a another one of these adjustment layers.
Now this is where the Bebop 2 really shines. Is
Right.
nice.
So here we are.
sunlight.
Here in sunshine.
Yep.
Now let's look at this real quick. It's a little cool. You know what? That still looks a little cool to me. Let's go ahead and increase that a little wee bit. My wife says that I must be Irish because I use wee bit all the time. Put a little wee bit of this and a wee bit of that. All right, so let's click on auto and see what that does. Not much. You see that? Not a lot. Not a lot. So you can see here what it did. But again, what does it have as reference? Just this field right here. Nothing special. Let's look at the Lumetri Scope and see what we have.
What did you call that? Lumetri Scope?
Lumetri. Yeah, Lumetri. Or Lumetri. I may be applying the... So notice it's warm here and all of a sudden it turns cool, right?
Right.
That's because auto white balance. So, you know, it's trying to adjust. But let's go ahead and here's me. We're going to warm up Joe a little bit. And right here, I am pretty much right on. You see that? This is the darkest portion right here, this area here.
Right.
See this right here? That's this area here. And so, yeah, I'm pretty good there. So I think our black point is just right. All we got to do is maybe, if you have, here's a trick. You see this area here is very bright. Okay, so this area actually is correctly exposed, but maybe not here.
Right.
Okay, so because I already nailed down my black point, I can just increase my shadow. You see that? It's not affecting this.
Right.
It's only bringing up the shadows. And when you bring them up, well, it's going to look a little flat. Well, give it a little more contrast. Boom. And then, of course, you're going to sharpen it down here. And again, I usually just add like 30. Wow. That's all it is. You know, maybe
brought the rocks out too. The shadows aren't hiding them as much. I didn't realize you pull that much depth out of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can see, I mean, this is actually full detail right there.
Right.
Again, I'm not blocking it. You see right here, this is, you know, you can't go wrong. It's showing you that you're not underneath that bar.
Right.
That is it. You're dead after that. So let me just give you know, show you an extreme of that. Let me just go ahead and you see that? Now I have no black. Right. So I need to bring it. Now there's some little areas of detail here, but that's kind of the real detail starts right here. That's where the real detail starts. You got to be able to like analyze this correctly. This is the roof of that house, that garage right there, right there, right there. And so bring that black down right there. Now, at that point, are my whites too white? Well, maybe. Again, just play around until it looks correctly. And then after that, you don't want to make this too bright because it's just going to look flat. Right. Fuzzy. Yeah. So again, you just look at this and it's you. You're the one that has to be pleased by this. I usually tell that to people. Don't worry about what people say. This is your creation and you're king. You're the king. So I'm going to brighten, highlight, warm up my highlights, cool down my shadows a little bit. That is it. You can actually add vignetting if you want to. So you can see, you can darken those edges. In some cases, in some scenes, let's just maybe go here. So it's just me right there. And I'm going to fly. I think I'm flying. I'm always trying to fly over me. One of these days, I'm going to smack myself in the head. Oh, yeah. I'm doing that just for the hell of it. So this is the pool house. Yeah. You get the conditions my grandson lives in.
Mm.
There's a pool right here. Okay, so let me just bring myself right there. Notice I started to yaw. You need to cut. If you're gonna cut, you need to cut then before
Right.
that abrupt yaw takes place. Again, but I'm just adjusting. I was actually doing some center of interest manually,
Mm-hmm.
myself being the so-called center of interest. You can use your arrow keys to get it. Okay, so now if you notice, like my eye is not being drawn to me. Okay, it's kind of looking this way. Gee, what's over there? Well, just darken that a little bit. Okay, just vignette it. You see that? That's too much,
Right.
but that's just right. And camera lenses used to do that. As a matter of fact, it was just a like an artifact, but they
Right.
were not able to create a nice flat, even field of projection.
Sure.
But what do you know? Shit, we won vignetting. So I mean, a lot of the scenes that you see and a lot of the photos that you see, especially landscapes, they have vignetting.
Right.
So on one hand, we don't want our lens to have it, but on the other hand, when we're post editing, we add vignetting. So right now, I have diminished my, you know, what my wanting to look at what the hell that is over there.
Right.
Instead of oh, now see that, now I'm looking, oh, what is that? Just make it a little bit less obvious.
Right. And that just takes it out of the
You can
corners.
adjust the shape, you can adjust
Right.
the feathering and all of that stuff. And again, you're applying that. Again, you would normally apply that not to the video but to an adjustment layer. And that it's like working with raw in something like Lightroom or any kind of raw converter,
Right.
where you're looking at your images, but you're actually just seeing a virtual representation of it, and you're applying edits to that virtual representation of it in the form of just basically like metadata, and it's really not affecting the raw file itself. So,
Jay thinks you're saying spaghetti.
and we're just going to add what I normally do: a little vibrance and a little sharpening. Boom! Look how nice that looks. You see?
Heck yeah.
So I think we were rotating here, and again, so this was around since the 40s, and the my son's other grandmother was one of 15 children in that big old house over there, and her father was like a country doctor. None of this was here. This was all country. The Mooney house. This is Kathy married Mr. Mooney, and they built that house that I think we're going to show you over here someplace. But anyway, as you can see, it's just this is a creative process. Look how bright that is. You see that?
Mm-hmm. There's a
So
lot to mess with.
that's something just screaming for vignetting.
Right.
Okay, so this is the big house right here. So this is the house that currently my daughter and actually son also lives there, and
Mm-hmm.
then her husband, and then little Nathan, who's a great pilot, by the way. That little son of a bitch. I mean, he can fly like there's no tomorrow. It's amazing. And I give him the Anafi, and he just no problem.
Just goes, huh?
I have no worries at all. Yeah, he's 8 years old, and people cannot fly a drone. Come on, give me a break.
He's at that full send age. Just send
Oh
it.
yeah,
Just go.
they got that ability. They got that spatial recognition
Yeah.
ability that we adults have problems with.
Mm.
So let me bring the black down, and let's see. Check our highlights. You see that? What's important? Is any of this important? Probably not. So we're going to increase that until it reaches near the. Is that too much? Well, you can bring it there and then just adjust the highlights. It would only adjust the very, very last few tones.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, right there. And then, of course, add the sharpening and saturation, now vibrance, and then vignette. Watch. Boom. Done. That's it.
Right.
That's all you have to do. Now, that's neutral. That's neutral. You can color grade that later. And there's some built-in really weird Hollywood type color grading that is just, fine. If I want to make this look like a night, then I guess I would do that, but not really. All right, let me show you photos from drone. Okay, so we're not going to save any of this. Let me open up Lightroom. Lightroom, it's called Lightroom because it's made for people that worked in the darkroom.
Right.
So that's the idea behind that. It was two individuals that are just master printers actually got involved in the creation of this program. So this is just a raw file from the Anafi and just the house, and just very basic.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like crap. So we're going to do this. We're going to right click, and I'm going to make a virtual copy. And so now I have one that I can edit because I don't want to affect that one.
Right. You just want to play with it. Sure.
Right. So what happens if I hit auto? Well,
it's going to give you a basic.
Right. So right now I'm looking at it, and it looks like the house is kind of tilted a little bit. So I'm going to click on R and then go outside. You get that little indicator right there. Just click and you get a grid. So we want to align. And this is, again, one of my pet peeves. Alignment is everything to me. You have to align your horizon. That's why we get so pissed off with gimbals that do not have a, straight horizon.
Yep.
Femi, Xeno.
Oh, Xeno. Yeah. Xeno's a big one.
All right, so there we go. So you can either align horizontal edges that are horizontal or vertical edges. So if there's enough distortion, you may not be able to get both of them aligned. But I think I got the vertical edges of the house aligned now. So now, because these are wide angle lenses, they're going to introduce a lot of curvature of field.
Right.
So lucky for us that have Lightroom, there's a built-in correction profile. So we're going to close all of this down and come down to, I believe, is lens correction. So chromatic aberration is something that also happens like on little details like branches against a blue sky or something like that. You may get color fringing. So you can eliminate that by just clicking that. Period.
Sure.
Done. And then watch what happens. Enable profile correction. You see that?
Right.
It just went from being a sphere to linear. Wow, basically now it is flat. And why? Because right here it says Para Anafi 23 millimeter 2.4. And this is the Adobe Para Anafi 23 millimeter lens correction filter. Isn't that amazing? I don't think it has DJI, by the way. So they are kind of favoring, you see.
Yeah,
you can tell where Adobe sits. All right, so then let's just say this is a high aerial that you shot with your camera, and you want to have it made into a poster or whatever. So again, notice how bright those edges are. They become that bright when you perform that correction, and we'll deal with that later. Now, but my house here is a little bit like in the dark. Like this is overpowering what the subject, is. So here's what you do. And here's a trick that, not my trick. This was done by someone else. He's a famous landscape photographer. What he does is this. He just takes the shadows all the way up, and the highlights all the way down. So now look what happened. I basically compress. Look at my histogram. Notice there's nothing on the black. Nothing touching. This is black. This is white. I have compressed everything. It used to be like this. You see that? Look at the warning.
Yeah.
You see that I have that, clicked on to give me that warning. That way I know that is being clipped, literally. So we're going to play with that trick that this guy invented. All right, so now we have the widest dynamic range you can extract out of that DNG file. Okay, It is maximized. Nothing is black, nothing is white. All right, so now we're going to add some black. We're going to actually take this point and move it this way. Now we can do it right here by just grabbing it. And notice, you see the little arrow right there?
Mm-hmm.
Whoops. You see that?
Mm.
Whoop. Too far. Too far. Same thing here. Oh, too far. All right. Now, that does not mean that, say, for instance, these highlights are getting blown. That just means, and it could be what they call a specular highlight, which is like a reflection of the sun, say, on a chrome bumper.
Mm-hmm.
And it has no detail. Who gives a crap? I mean, it can get blown. That's fine.
Right.
I'm more concerned with areas that are not shiny getting blown out.
Right.
I'm not concerned with chrome getting blown out. That's fine. So right at this point, I don't have any, look at how sharp that is. I don't have any areas that are showing that warning.
Wait a minute. That's a shot from the Bebop?
Yeah, that's the Anafi. So
okay. I was like, there's no way you got that close to the Bebop too.
No. The Bebop is a what do you call it? A fisheye.
Right.
A fisheye image. So even if I blow it to the right, I'm not getting any red indications. So we want to bring that back down because I went too crazy with that. So we want to bring it until I get that warning. Boom, come down. Right there. That's where the warning comes in. All right. So now I have established that a non-reflective or shiny area highlight of my image, it's at its max.
Right.
Before it falls over the, I always like to say before it falls over the cliff. And so the same thing with the blacks. So now I can just play around with the midtones. I don't know if you can tell that when I hover over the blue channel of the RGB histogram, I don't know if you can tell that there's a region being lit up, kind of selected. I can actually adjust. You see how I'm moving this?
Right.
It's not really affecting this area too much. So I'm actually bringing in the shadows a little bit more. And I'm going to play with this. Notice the house is getting brighter, huh? Yeah. So that's the whole point. Say I'm doing this is a crappy shot, but if I was doing a shot for a real estate agent, like our buddy does, I would make very sure that I would be shooting at a different time of day, basically.
Right.
Because the house is facing north and it just doesn't get any sunlight. Notice the mold growing on the roof on the side of it doesn't get sunlight. Right. So it's difficult. It would be difficult to grab a good shot of this house, maybe in an overcast day, and just make it a little bit more contrasty to give it a little more.
Right.
So in the darkroom days, we used to do dodging and burning in. That is a manual manipulation that you do with literally your fingers and a little piece of wire with little shapes of paper attached to it with tape, literally. And you would then, working from negative to positive, you would adjust specific regions to get either more exposure on that paper because you worked in the darkroom with an enlarger. Here we're working, luckily, in a room with the lights on. Right. So we can actually physically adjust these areas here. So I want to make this brighter and add more contrast. So I'm going to grab a brush, just click on that. And when you do that, it activates this region here, all of these settings. So I want to add contrast and I want to add a little bit of exposure. Let's see what happens and if I use my scroll wheel, I don't know if you can see that.
Change the size and
brush moving, changing size. So I'm going to go ahead and paint.
Whoa, really?
I'm going to just paint. And I said, okay, that brightened the house, but I really need more contrast. Boom. You see that? It was here, and now it's here. So that's actually giving, and I don't want it to be that extreme. So that's about right, and maybe just a little bit brighter. It's only affecting the area that I brushed. You see that?
Yeah. Huh.
Right there.
I do give you a 5-minute warning, Jose. We're actually at almost 8 o'clock at 7.
Okay, we're going to cut it off really quick here.
Yeah.
Just a few more adjustments and we're done.
Mike also just gave you a shout out. He's like, check out Jose live every Sunday at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Good man, Mike.
Now we're going to go ahead and remove the, wanting to look at this tree that's in the way.
Sure.
So I'm going to darken that.
That's crazy.
All right, and I'm going to darken this piece of grass right here. You notice how smooth that is? It's not affecting anything.
Center of attention then goes to just house because it's the most gnarly thing that stands out.
And you want to also, what you want to do is you want to draw the eye to the subject.
Right.
We're going to add clarity. We're going to add dehazing. Dehazing is kind of a removing haze. And vibrance, and then we're going to do the last will be sharpening.
Actually, like what you just did there. That was magical.
And boom. So there it is. Look at that. Now I darken the edges.
Right.
I'm looking at the house. That's the important thing. I got some clipping here. Whoops. Well, we just go back and adjust the black point. Get rid of that. You see the blue? Everything that's blue is clipped.
Right.
We go until we have no more clipping. Done.
Huh.
I didn't sharpen this yet, but we can cut it off right now. And we can go. I can show you next time how to do a panorama. Very quickly here. I got 5 images here that I shot of the pool house on the drone, just manually yawing the drone. Look at how blown out that is.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to make a big old beautiful panorama out of that. All right, I think that's it. I don't want to make brains blow out here a little bit. Too much info. TMI. What is it?
Well, no, I think some people took this in. You got to remember, we're competing streams. Ken Heron's live. There's a bunch of people live right now. So we're definitely competing streams.
All right, so let's go ahead and let me stop sharing. You can put me back.
I got you. So guys, this is Jose Rodriguez. I want to do more of these. Are you up for that? Did you want to do some other stuff?
Absolutely, sure. Yeah.
Shutter speed, f-stops. I want to talk about all that stuff, man.
Filters, the use of filters, polarizing lenses, filters on your drone, all of that stuff, how it affects your image.
Totally down. I want to start like a Thursday thing if we can, man, and just carry it through for a little while.
That jittery when you're yawing. Yeah. We're gonna get rid of that.
The 2 drones that I use constantly, like I give the Mavic Mini credit because the sticks are a lot more sensitive, which is nice because my hand, I can tone that sensitivity down or I can turn it up depending on what my stick movements are. The Xeno, there's no tuning. The
you don't have that. It's just a straight.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you do anything, it's like herky jerky no matter what you do.
You need to have, as much as we criticize the Q500 unique, it did have the ability to give you that very gradual response rate to the sticks.
That and the gimbal would just rotate really slowly if you made a turn. It did a lot of the work for you. So I do give it credit there. Where the Bebop 2 can be the same thing. If you take it out of sport mode and you slowly move the sticks, then you can get that third axis feel. You just have to be very careful with your motions because otherwise the Bebop 2 will do the same thing. It'll give you that jerk motion. So, but yeah, that's it's the solo's in its own league, man. It's far advanced. Beyond the other one, so I'm not even going to talk about the solo, but so anyways, this was fun, man. I had a good time. I actually learned a lot. I'm going to go back and review this and watch it big screen myself because I was watching it on, the little tiny window the whole time. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And Jose, thank you for joining me. I want to set another one up. You sound like you're down. So we're going to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thursday for me.
Heck yeah. I'm getting ready to go fly, guys. I signed up for a fly at 8 o'clock, so I actually have to throw all my equipment in the car and start driving. That's why we cut the stream at a short hour. So thank you for your time, Jose, and everybody in chat. Don't forget to check out Jose's channel. He goes live every Sunday if you want to learn about printers and cartridges, and not just that. Occasionally he hits everybody with a drone video and shows you how to do color grading and all the stuff on his own channel too. So let me post his YouTube link again if you guys have not subscribed to him. Look at these photos. What was that taken with? The Anafi?
No, real camera.
I was like, okay.
A real camera.
They'll show you how to get the best quality photo that you can printing. I promise you, man. He's very talented at what he does.
Yeah.
So I'm in, man.
It's all interrelated anyway. To me, it's all photography. I get a lot of people that are a little bit concerned with, oh, you're getting too much into drones, this and that.
Right.
Dude, it's photography.
It is. It's all photography. It's all art.
It culminates in creation of images like that. So
Right.
I could have easily have shot that with a drone. I was just on top of a hill, didn't need to do that.
Sure.
And so yeah,
beautiful.
nobody would know. Right. Yeah.
Guys, I'm saying goodbye to Jose, and then I'm dropping everybody off. So have a good night, Jose. Thank you. We'll get in touch, bud.
Yep.
And let's see here. It's just me now. It's beautiful, wonderful me. Guys, I'm signing off. Like I said, I have to go do this fly session and yeah. So we're gonna go do that. I'm gonna cut out here now, and I'm gonna talk to Jose because he's still hanging in there for a sec. So we'll talk to him, and then I'm out. Thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to smash the like button. I hope you guys learned something today. And if you enjoyed this, then we'll definitely do some more. Jose sounds like he's a very intelligent cookie, and I like intelligent cookies because then I learn stuff. And it's good when I learn. I need to pick up new skill sets. So this is good for me. This is all I need to learn proper photo shoots. This whole time I've been a hobbyist, you guys, and I've just kind of taken footage and did the occasional color grading. I don't really go too in depth. But Jose definitely takes it to another level, and I like that. So, all right, guys, I'm out. Thanks for stopping in. I will catch you guys on the flip, man. To the roo.